I'm gonna get a video of what we're doing here, okay? Just a little tiny quick video. I'm on a different camera over here, so you get a little different angle on the other one. But watch this again. I'll do a little quick demo. So here's the cut I'm thinking of as the harmony. Is A minor. So all I'm doing for that is playing over the pentatonic. Here's the first. That sounds really boring. What we're trying to do is get into this. First idea was just to take each note in the scale and slide down. So when I play, I'll play a little bit of pentatonic like this. A little slide in the pointer finger was a slide out. Maybe the same thing up on top. Took every one of the notes in the scale and slid out. Cool? All of those are out notes. They're notes that just sound juicy because they're not in the scale. So, first idea was a slide. Now the next one is that enclosure. So you take every note in the scale and you go one fret above it, one fret below it, and then to it. The idea is you're on the first string, you're playing 8 and 5. That's going to be a 9, a 7, and 8 for the first note. And then a 6, a 4, and a 5 for the next note. Same thing on the next string. 9, 7, 8. And then 6, 4, 5. And on the next string, it would be an 8, a 6, and a 7. And then a 6, a 4, and a 5. And then an 8, a 6, and a 7, and then a 6, a 4, and a 5. So you get a lot of outness, but you end up on a scale tone. So again, I'll play around some notes. That was we're up here. That was. So I played all pentatonic except for that second string, 8th fret. I played a little enclosure. I did a couple of them there. Here's one on the second string. So that was like the second string, 5th fret. I played an enclosure. And I do another enclosure here on the 3rd string, 7th fret. So you get a really cool little chromatic sound on all these notes. I just did all of them there. Cool, right? Gives the out sound. Does that make sense? Is that enough to do? Okay, now try this one. Yeah, you're just trying to practice these specific things you can do in every position. You get really cool little sliding out sounds. And you can control how much out you have because you're just playing a pentatonic scale, and anytime you want to get out of that out sound, just go back in the scale. So if I'm here in 4th position, I can play all those notes in the scale, and whenever I want an out sound, I slide down a fret, or I enclose it. Tasty. That's what we're trying to get, is these like cool little things that make you go, what is that set of notes he's playing? I mean, nothing in there except pentatonic thinking and just playing around the notes. So here's another technique. So far you have the little slide down technique, and you have the enclosure technique. Enclosure is one above, one below, and then back to the note. Slide down, just hit the note and slide down a fret in every scale, every note in the scale. Another thing you do is take any note in the scale, and we've done pedals before. What you do is take a note, like say I'm on the 1st string 5th fret in the pentatonic scale. And what you do is take all the notes on the next string and fill them in. So I'm going to do it a note in the scale, and I'm going to chromatically go down the next string, but stay inside the note, the fingers in the scale. So like this. Cool. So the notes here on the 2nd string are 8 and 5. I just filled them all in. I did 8, 7, 6, 5. But I kept the pedal tone going, so I have a note in the scale that's always sounding like it's right, you know? Cool? So that was 5, 8, 5, 7, 5, 6, 5, and then back in the scale. I'm hitting 5 on the 1st string, and then 8 on the 2nd, then back to 5. And then I'm chromatically fitting in those other notes, but always hitting 5 on the 1st string in between. And you can do that anywhere with any set of notes. Do the same thing. Like say I take this one, 4th string 7th fret, and say I use the notes on the 3rd string with that. So I'll go like. I'm trying to use the notes that are right around, or I might move down. So I'm doing the note on the 2nd string there, and doing the same thing, using the 3rd string with those out notes. Make sense? 5 on the 2nd string, then the note on the 3rd string, then the out note, then I'm going back in the scale, then an out note, then back in the scale, and then out. Keep doing that. Want to try that one again? Try the note on the 2nd string, the 5th fret. 5th fret on the 2nd string. No, it's just, okay, that works, yeah, but I'm doing the note on the 3rd string already. So I'm taking those notes on the 3rd string, playing it alternately with that note on the 2nd string, and moving down chromatically so I get some of the out notes. Make sense? So I'm doing this thing. I'm doing the little slide down. I'm doing that little slide down thing to get some out notes. But I'm just putting a pedal tone on it. Is that cool? It makes sense? Okay, so try it this way. Take that same pedal note on the 2nd string. Yeah, but that's a different. Yeah, but that's a different thing. Right now, the idea is the next little technique, aside from sliding down and aside from doing pedals, or aside from doing enclosures, to do these pedals, you take one note in the scale, and then you do the inside notes, the ones that aren't in the scale. So there, I took this 2nd string, and I played the notes on the 1st string with the filled-in, chromatic tones. Try that. So I play the 2nd string. 2nd. Now I'm doing the chromatics on the 1st string, so I'm playing the scale notes, but I'm filling them in. Cool? Every time going back to my pointer, yeah. same thing on the third string. You take the note on the third string and pedal it, and do every note on the second string. The idea is to get those outside notes, but you're basically focusing on playing pentatonic notes entirely. It's just filling in some of those extra tones. And the easiest way to do it is with some of these slides. And the little chromatics, the enclosures. Cool. And then these little pedal tones. Cool. Up here, like in fourth position, it'd be like. It's cool, right? So in every one of those cases, like try this one up here. Fourth position, I got my pinky on the 15th fret. Now I just walk down on the second string, go back and forth between that note, that pedal tone, and the notes in the second string, but fill it in with a chromatic. Cool? So 15 on the first string, then 15 on the second string. Then fill it in, 15 on the first string, 14. Then 15, then 13. Then back, and then I went to the next note scale. When you do that quick, it sort of slides down into this outside note. This note that's not in the scale, but it sounds cool. Make sense? Jim, is that cool? Yeah, is that cool? Uh-oh, I'm losing you. Yeah, you gotta get that. Yeah, that's it. So you can do that anywhere. You can go upward. Try that. We use the fourth string, 14th fret, and then pedal that with the third string notes and just fill in the third string. So I'm doing. Cool? So it's the fourth string, 14th fret, and then I'm alternating that with every note on the third string, filling in the chromatic. Is that cool? I don't know if you can hear me, Jim. I think I lost your audio. Yeah, I've totally lost your audio. Can you hear me? Is that cool? Okay, so is that cool? I'm taking that pedal. All that was a little chromatic on the third string, and then I completed it on the second string. I can go the other way too, like this. Take that same pedal tone, the fourth string, 14th fret. Now on this string we have these two notes, right? The pinky and the pointer on 15 and 12. So what I'm going to do is take that pedal on the fourth string, 14th fret, hit it, and then walk down chromatically on the fifth string between the notes in the scale. Whenever you do that, whenever you use those little out tones chromatically, just filling in the notes on the scale, using the pedal tone on the next string, what you get is something that's really in still, because you're using notes in the scale. You're always going back to that note that's in the scale, and you're just kind of sliding between some other notes that are in the scale. So it sounds out, but it's still mostly right notes. So you got three, but what you want to try and do, what you really want to try and do is get these three little techniques started. And you can always there's a million other ways to hit the out notes, but I think these are the ones that are going to give you some real mileage. And and that are, specific to practice. You can take every scale, every pentatonic that you have, and slide out. And you can get it really good because you're used to playing the pentatonics. Cool. It just sounds freaking cool. No matter where you use it, it sounds cool. What I'll do a lot of times is the exact opposite. I'll slide up from every note, but then when I do that, whenever I slide up, I always try and go to the next note in the scale. So if I'm doing this, so I do this, I slide that up, I try and keep going in the scale. So if I do a slide down, I can just kind of hit it. And the idea is whenever you go out, if you get something that's funky, it's cool. You get something that's a little weird, it's cool because you go back into the scale. Now if you go up, you do the same thing. I just think you tend to have to be a little more careful with going up because you have to continue that upward motion into a note in the scale. If you do this, it just sounds bad. But if you go, if I go like this, if I do that, it just sounds bad. But if I go, I go up, or I go like this, slide that 8 to 9, but continue on to the next string. There, I take that 7, slide up to 8, but then I continue on to the next string. Same here, if I continue this 8, usually I have to continue those or else they sound a little funky. The ones that are moved up just don't work as well. Now it's really easy when you're doing like this because you're in the scale. That's all straight pentatonic. All I'm thinking about is pentatonic there. Sweet, right? The other thing is those enclosures. That's so what I did there was on every one of those notes, I played one above, one below. So what we're trying to do is play the note, like if we're playing this note, we go above, below, and then back to the note. So find any note in the scale. Play any note in the scale. Choose any one. Pick a note. Okay, so if you're on 5 there, the enclosure is going to be 6, 4, and then 5. Now play a couple more notes in the scale, whichever ones you want. Or, whatever you want. Yeah. Do that anywhere, but play a couple more. Yeah. Just play, but don't do that. Don't go to a bunch of other notes. Practice the specific thing. The idea is you have these really specific techniques that are sort of proven as, things that are going to make nice lines. And the way this enclosure is going to work is you're going to play the enclosure and play a couple other scale notes. Because the enclosure is really dissonant. You're playing 2 notes that are outside and around the note. Then you're going back to the note. Then finish it up by playing another couple more scale notes because that brings it back in. So if I do this, I don't want to do another, I don't want to go. It just starts sounding wrong, right? Do an enclosure and play a little more of the scale. Cool? Or there, I did a couple of enclosures, but it was mostly pentatonics. So the enclosure is a very specific thing. It's above the scale note, below the scale note by 1 fret, and then to the scale note. Yeah, yeah. Then play a couple other notes. Right, don't do a bunch of enclosures. It's going to sound really... I mean, you can do a bunch of enclosures. You can do that, you know. But, you know, like everything else, you want to kind of mix it up a little bit. So you get this one little tasty thing that was like, what was that? You know, people hear that go by and they don't know what it was you did. They hear it. And like, what were those notes? What's that scale he was playing? That wasn't a different scale. Everything I'm doing here is pentatonic. Pure pentatonic. Even without chords, it sounds cool. It's got a lot of taste in it. That sounds like I'm using like maybe a little bit of diminished stuff here or there. I mean, you know, like when I do this, that sounds like a diminished scale. You know, it sounds like a diminished scale there. That sounds like a diminished scale. I mean, it really sounds like a diminished. And sometimes you get these really whole tone sounding things. You know, that sounds really whole tone-ish. But you get all those notes that you get from doing all those other sort of exotic scales because you're trying to play every single note and you're trying to do it. The idea of having a technique, like do the slide down technique, do the enclosure technique, do the pedal tone thing with a chromatic slide. They work because they're very specific things that we know work well and sound good. And there's things you want to work at. So like if I'm going to do a pedal tone, I'm going to work on maybe taking this note and doing everything I can with it. Like, you know, we're taking this one or this one or and I just know that whenever I do that thing, whenever I do take a pedal tone, play the chromatic notes in between the other notes on another string, you get something that sounds good. And if you just kind of put it in, you're going. You get something that's neat. And it doesn't sound pentatonic anymore because you're really accenting some of those color tones, some of those outside tones that make your ear go, what was that? You know? It's not the boring. It's what was that? Yeah, try it. Yeah, it sounds a little off if you start doing other things. The idea is that it's like, look, learn the common bend. You know, learn those bends. Learn the common techniques. These are the common techniques that are they're just proven, you know? Do these, they sound good, you know? And you don't have to create other things. You want to practice those specific things and getting good at going. That was a little pedal tone with a chromatic. Sounds cool. Sounds cool. That all sounds good. They sound good, you know, if you practice them. If you do this. Sounds good, you know. That was a little slide thing. You throw in a little. That was a little enclosure. That was a little enclosure. There's a whole bunch of enclosures in there. Cool. And enclosures have a certain sound, the slide down is a certain sound, the pedal tone thing is a certain sound, and that's just 3 little things that you can do with those out notes, those chromatic notes that are practicable. You know, you don't have to be creative. You have to kind of work it out on every string. It's not so much about being creative. All these things, you know, everything we've ever done is not so much about being creative and having, you know, a moment of inspiration. It's about really getting to know the fretboard and how to do, you know, where are those chromatic notes and how you get it in your fingers. Like, how are you going to play this? Get it in your fingers. Or how are you going to do this one? Or like, which finger are you going to slide to get that chromatic note, you know? And what finger are you going to hold on the chromatic? And, you know, how are you going to get your hand to play all those notes comfortably? And it's, you know, more about, you know, how are you going to get the enclosure to go from here to going back in the scale? How are you going to get your finger to do that little thing and go back there? So the fingering of ring, pointer, middle always works. Then you just go back to the scale and practice doing that. And the idea of always just sliding a finger down always works. Cool. Each one of those things is practicable. You can do it in every position, and they feel different in every position. They feel, you know, you have to come up with a different fingering, because all those fingerings have different, or all those, you know, positions have different fingerings. And you have to figure out how to do each one of these little things: a chromatic, you know, chromatic pedal thing, and an enclosure, and a slide with different fingers. Cool. Of course, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you want to mix them, of course. Yeah, mix everything up. Yeah. Yeah. There was this great video, if I could find it really quick. I can't put it on the video here, but we're about 27 minutes in this video. So I'm going to stop this and I'm going to upload it, okay? Do you think that's enough for you to practice with? And actually,